Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. Okay. So on the issue of my ex-girlfriend, okay, and the incidents that happened, I first want to point out that people were under mind control to some degree, believe it or not. As I look back at it, as I compare notes, as I talk to some people who work for the government, it's clear to me, and keep in mind, I don't talk to them in a normal way. We have a certain way of communicating that has to do with them targeting me. So I got to take what they say with a grain of salt to some degree. But as I look at the evidence with everything considered, it's safe to say that Jamal and Daryl, and another one was, hate to put his name out there like that, but we'll say his name starts with bra. His name starts with the phrase or the syllable bra. Okay? And, with the information I was given from my ex-girlfriend, okay, that he had grabbed, basically what had happened was I kept paying the rent, and when she got her check from work, I was like, it's only fair that, we split the money or what have you. I was planning to use the money on weed, what have you, and she wanted to use the money for her own kind of purposes, right? And it wasn't going to be all the money. I wanted, maybe $140 or whatever it was, and she had maybe $400 check. I don't remember the details about that, but it was something like that, maybe $360 or $260 or whatever it was. Since I, kept paying the rent, and I think at that time we didn't have a roommate, so the rent at the time was like $776. And so, she was planning to kind of pocket the money and spend it on what she wants to spend it on. And so I was mad, right? And we didn't really get a chance to kind of discuss it. So I basically say to him, I'm like, man, she basically just jacked me. He's like, what? Why would she do that, right? He's like, and she went off angry. Maybe the government hacked my brain at the time. Maybe I was just angry. I don't know. But certainly I was wanting to smoke weed and I was angry. And so he said, that today's your day to play the boss or whatever. When he sees her, he's going to give her a hard time, da-da-da, okay? And he says that he doesn't know what came over him, but he, pushed her, right, which wasn't part of the plan. The part of the plan was to, just, say, what the hell are you doing, give her a hard time verbally, right? And she later told me that he grabbed her breasts, okay? And he, when she came to his house, right, because she knows his sister, and, his sister and two brothers, right, and there's two of them, that he had a shower, he had a towel on, and that he fucking pushed her and touched her breasts and somehow grabbed it or something like this, right? And was like, get out of here or something, okay? And that didn't come out till after he was evicted, right? She kept things like that from me. We'll get to that. The other thing that she kept from me. And she would eventually do me wrong in other ways as time goes on, right? She owes me right now a lot of money right now, like $2,000 to $3,000. That's just, we'll get to that in a second. I'm going to try to keep this brief. I don't want to make this a long video. I don't have a lot of room on my phone. So anyway, yeah, there's that guy. And his name is Bra. So that suggests that they were like, hey, that's the first part of his name. They knew that he was going to do that. They were going to hack his brain, so they structured things a certain way. They made it so that through a friend whose name is similar to either the word demon or a name of a demon. I don't want to put the person on blast because we're going to get into what he did, which was the worst of all of them, and he was supposed to be my friend, what have you. We'll get to that. And, so later on, he fronted me some weed a different time, and he was on the verge of getting evicted. He said he needs money really quickly, he's going to get evicted, and he thought he could sell $1,000 worth of weed in one night if he got the $140 or so that I owed him back in time. And so I was a couple days late with it, and it was like, he missed the Saturday weekend, and he specifically said, hey, make sure you pay it back so he can re-up and do his thing. And he thought he could make $1,000 in one night. He couldn't have done that. I'll tell you right now, he couldn't have done that. His argument was mostly that at that party he was going to be able to sell dub here, an eighth there, and that he'd make $1,000 profit and be able to pay off. It's like he predicted that that I wasn't going to give him the money back, and but I don't think he did though. So he was mad at me at the time when he got evicted, and it had not come out till after he was gone. And so another time with a Jamal guy who grabbed her butt at the club, she slapped him, he slapped her back, his friend grabbed him and said, "What are you doing?" Okay, which led to a series of retaliations, me pulling out knives on some of his family members, okay, in two different instances, one's a pocket knife, one's a butcher knife, okay, and confronting them. And keep in mind the statute of limitations on every criminal event that I'm going to talk about is up. Keep in mind I have no history of violence. I always, this is necessary stuff. This was not flipping out as an angry person. This was necessary retaliation, and no one has a viable counterargument. Okay, I lived in those apartments with my girlfriend. I couldn't let people walk all over me, and what they did crossed the line big time, and there was no way for law enforcement to get involved. And if I resorted to law enforcement as somebody who was a reputable member or affiliate of the Crip gang, of a Crip faction that I started myself, that was, and I knew a lot of the Crips from the other factions, they would not, make my life better, we'll say. And at that time, they kept me from my identity. I didn't know I was Jesus. I'd gotten in a car accident. I wasn't doing martial arts. Okay, and so that made it so it was logical to use a weapon. Plus, on both those occasions, there was two other people there. Okay, both my brothers, if I'm not mistaken, were going to University of Michigan at the time. One of my friends had moved, to the LA area, okay, for college, what have you. A lot of my friends and the people that I knew, they weren't around. Okay. So I was standing on my own 10 toes at various times, and at times I wasn't. I had friends come slide through there. I go as far as to say that the person who had the most OGs slide through there was, me and this one guy from Seven Trees, and I didn't really see who he had slide through there, but I suspect that, it was me. I'm the one who had the most gangsters slide through his apartment, between the roommate who moved in and between the people I knew. Okay, I'm the one who had the most kind of thugs and gangsters slide through their apartment. So I had a certain kind of standing in the community. I was, there's no easy way to describe it, but I was a very serious and legitimate gang member. Like, I was the most gangster person there. I had the cornrows with the blue rubber bands. I looked more gangster than the guy from Seven Trees who was trying to wind down his life, right? He's an OG trying to wind it down. Where me, I was banged out. You see what I'm saying? So anyway, so there was different times where at some point I was like alone, and it was just me and my girlfriend, and my acquaintances weren't so much active there, especially before the roommate moved in, and that kind of lightweight expanded my network. But the people that she dealt with, they didn't exactly, certain situations they probably would have my back, but they didn't exactly have my back. Okay, but I'm the type of person that didn't need anyone to have my back, as the story will show. But anyway, so there's that. I just want to really touch on the things related to Rahel. Again, her name is Ra. First part of her name, Ra, and then Hel. Now with Jamal, his name backwards is Lay Mage. And these guys point to the wordplay. They made it clear to me themselves. When I started to figure out the wordplay on my own, they themselves started to help me figure out more of the wordplay to show that they're communicating to me that way. They're like, this means this means this, so they could do things like that, and they could allude to what happened in the past that way. And when you see the wordplay lines up like that, right? Lay Mage, one of the guys' name is like either the word demon or a demon. Okay, we'll get to that. And the guy's name starts with Bra. Okay, so that guy grabbed her ass, and she slapped him, he slapped her, friend grabbed him, they're in the club. She went to the club behind my back with a chick named Salam. Again, her name scrambled is M. Lays. Okay, or lame A's. And that goes back to the Bible where they say the blind and the lame won't enter the palace. A key part with King David in 2 Samuel 5. And the people involved in this are very much affiliated with the churches and the mosques and the synagogues, and they zoom in on these parts and they connect it like a serial killer would, or something like the Zodiac killer would, or something, the Zodiac killer, to, things that they are interested in, the Bible, what have you. So anyway, I'm taking way too much time. Let's just wrap this up here. So the third incident, okay, So there was also a chick that she had problems with. She was a Somalian chick. She said, I hate that chick, da da da. I cussed her out for it. Boom. So I'm having her back in quite a few occasions here, financially, physically, or otherwise. One time, because we didn't really go out and do a lot of stuff. We didn't go to Great America. We didn't go out to eat at nice restaurants a lot. We hung out a lot and just, watch TV, okay, smoke. I spent a lot of money on weed. I drank too back then, stuff like that, right? And, I'd go to work. So I said, someone, I don't remember who recommended. One of us said, let's go to the club. Okay, so it was just me and her. I thought, I shouldn't go to the club as somebody who people identify as a Crip at the time. Now they don't see me that way. It's been years. I haven't lived that lifestyle in a long time. People know people change. But back then, it wasn't the best idea in the world. However, I didn't know most of the Bloods, and most of the Bloods didn't know me. And I probably wasn't dressed too much like a Crip at that time. So we slide through the club. Lo and behold, there's between 20 to 40 Bloods. It's been like over 20 years. I don't remember how many of them. I remember there was a lot of them, and they were dancing in a synchronized way, a coordinated way. Okay, and so they're dancing. There's not that many chicks in the club. There's another crew there. It's led by like a white guy, right? He seems to be leading them. They seem to, he goes out and dances for a song. They follow him on the dance floor. There's about 6 of them, and they say, we can't help you out. Even though I don't know them, they took the time to say that. So there's this tall, most of those Blood guys, they're all like in pretty good shape, and they didn't seem like they were from San Jose. So one of them was like lightweight leading them or something. He stood out as a more pronounced member, and he had like long hair, right? He's a black guy. It looked like he's mixed with Indian or something. He was a certain specific look. He was like mixed with Ethiopian or something. It was a very specific look. Maybe that's what it was. And, so I'm dancing with her. He comes and he tries to dance with her for a second. I pick her up, and I turn around, and I move her to the other side, okay? And he's like, it's like that? Okay, and I probably said something like, yeah, or something, or I just didn't say anything. And so after that, they're trying to kind of move through the club in a way that's like, look, we're going to do what we want to do and stay out of our way. So at some point, I leave the club, right? And when I think about this thing, right, some people might say, well, you're lucky this, and this. Okay, look, I'm the top martial artist ever. Yeah, can I take on 20 guys at the same time? No. Okay, would I have gotten treated like Orlando Anderson with Tupac and Suge and them, beat him and stomped him out? That's a possibility. But yes, I would have found the first Blood I could find that remind me of them, and I would have fucking killed them. You see what I'm saying? So it's not like, you don't say to the lion, you're lucky the hyenas didn't chew you up. Okay, I'm more dangerous than they are. What are you trying to prove? I'm the top martial artist, not any of them. In single combat, with weapons, I probably could take 20 on at the same time, because I'm that much more effective at killing and more deadly than they are. So it's fucking retarded to say, hey guys, right? Fucking stupid. But anyway, so that's the time where I basically had her back, right? And I was at the club, okay? And it was a very dangerous situation. Part of me was like, hey, fucking just let her dance with me. I'm like, man, fuck that. This is my girlfriend. I'm right here with her. No, that's not happening. Boom. You see what I'm saying? And so some people back then would say things like, don't handcuff him. There'd be some feminist bitch or something saying he's clingy or some bitch fucking shit. I don't know what they say now, because I'm targeted, a bit isolated, what have you. So anyway, there was that incident. But earlier on, going back to the guy whose name is like the word demon or a word for demon, he was my friend. We were faded, whatever. I drank more than I usually did that night. I was faded into next week, right? Blacking out, pass out type faded. And so he was sleeping on the couch, okay? And so I'm sleeping with her in the bed. He's on the couch, and the bed is in a different room, right? It's a 2-bedroom apartment. That it was low income, so we paid $776. Eventually, we'd move in the roommate, right? And I hear this noise in the middle of the night, and I'm hella faded. I'm like, what's this noise? I'm feeling lazy. I'm like, listen, I'm like, look, fucking, he's like, I'm like, I better get the door. Maybe he's trying to get my attention, because I'm like in and out of consciousness, hella faded. So I get to the door, I'm like, man, what's going on? And he's like, oh, yeah, I was going to tell you, it's cold in there, right? And I'm fucking super faded still. I woke up drunk as shit still, okay? And he's like, fucking, can I sleep in here or something, right? And for whatever reason, now I don't know how much they planted the memory and how much I was drunk, not thinking at all. Both ways don't add up to me. It's very fuzzy, okay? So, to make a long story short, He's in the bed sleeping with us, right? Now, again, if you think, hey, that doesn't make sense, well, join the fucking club. If you ever been fucking so drunk you did shit that doesn't make sense, hey, that's what the fuck that was. Anyone have a fucking problem with that? Okay, so at some point, he's like, I don't want you guys sleeping together or something like this, right? Because, you know, you might have sex while I'm in the bed and da-da-da or something like this. So I end up on the floor. Okay, this is how I remember. Again, they can plant memories to some degree, but not that well. So it's hard to say what the fuck happened. And so, make a long story short, he leaves by the morning time, and fucking then I go back in the bed or something, right? Because I'm like hella faded. I remember I'm hella not myself. I'm pretty sure they hacked my brain that day, if it even happened. Maybe they just invented, I don't know. And so they're acting funny. So I go to the bathroom for a second or something, maybe brush my teeth or something. I come out, and they're acting funny, and they're like saying something along the lines of, you know, you're not supposed to tell him or some fucking shit. Okay? And she says something to me like, you know, at some point she says, you know, last night you did a good job or some shit like this, right? So she's like, you know, right now she's clearly a gang stalker. I don't know what she was then, okay? But you can imagine the psychological effects as much as make you want to kill somebody. However, I asked her later on, she denies. She said, no, he was never even sleeping next to me, da-da-da-da-da. She denies this shit ever happened. I asked him, he denies it. Because of the situation, you can't just say, well, I know that happened and fucking, you know, start taking off on the motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember he was saying to her, he's like, look, if you tell him, he's going to fucking want to kill me, and it's going to be a very serious situation, and I'm going to blame you. And he perceived that I fought better than him at that time. You see what I'm saying? So I wouldn't say he was scared, but he was acting like an evil person who was being defensive, right? And later on, she didn't like him, and it wasn't clear why. There was one time where I didn't have very much money. We're going through Jack in the Box, and we're all hungry as hell. And fucking, I only had enough for 2 burgers, right? And so I bought one for me and one for her. And I'm like, you know, this is my, and he's like, you're not supposed to do that, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, okay, you know, give him some of your stuff. He said, no, it's not enough, da-da-da-da-da. And he wanted me to buy him a burger and me and not her, right? And so, you know, our relationship was different than you might think, right? There's no easy way to explain it. The guy was a narcissist to a large degree. Over time, he probably changed, yeah. And I'm not gonna tell you too much about this guy because I thought about it and I said I don't want to put this guy on blast for this too much, you know. Okay, so yeah, he later on gets beat up many times. Okay, now he's not the only person I know who has gotten beat up, you know, so I'll say that. But he later on gets beat up many times. Not because of me. I didn't tell anybody to do that. I didn't, you know, I don't think I told anyone the story. Okay, so you see this where she gets her ass grabbed. I had to deal with that. She got her breast grabbed. This guy was gone before I could do anything. And also that incident that happened. Then there was, the incident, okay, so we're at a party, okay, and well, it's a get together. I mean, it's a get together / party, and we're on the east side in the Summer Winds Apartments, which is south side territory, and it's also, you might say, blood. A lot of Bloods and East Palo Alto guys frequent that area because of the people who lived in there. I don't want to put the dudes there on blast and describe whose apartment it was and how I knew them and so on and so forth. Okay, but that was the situation, and these guys, they didn't get along with the Southsiders there. Okay, but the Southsiders have nothing to do with this story. This story here, I don't have any problems with them. If they weren't in rebellion against God, I might even give them a shout out because I don't have a problem. I don't know them, but you know, because you know, there's no ill will there. But those other guys didn't feel that way, right? They lived there. They'd see them in the parking lot. They'd stare at them. They say, you know, they flash the gang signs or whatever problem they had with them, and shit was tense around there, according to them. So lo and behold, guess who's on the fucking patio talking to my little brother with, you know, a bunch of dudes. So he came there with like 2 or 3 other dudes, and it was me, my little brother, and my girlfriend, and it was mutual acquaintances. And before that, someone had said to me, you're not going to try anything. And I thought they were referring to there being Bloods there, and that I'm a Crip at the time. Okay, so I'm like, no, I'm not going to try anything, so on and so forth. But it was actually to do with that motherfucker. And Rahel, is starting to act very funny. I'm like, why is she acting funny? Okay, and she's like, oh, okay, and she's acting very strange, like scared, like she's nervous, right? She didn't want violence to kick off and stuff like that, right? And Turns out later that dude was on the fucking, because I didn't know what he looked like, right? So when I chased him out the apartments, it's after I knew what he looked like, right? So I didn't know what he looked like, and there was some big Somalian guys there. It's like, he said something to me like, if you try to beat him up, I'm gonna have to help him out. I didn't know what they're fucking talking about. Maybe they're hacking my brain too. For whatever reason, I didn't put it together. And so I go outside, okay, with Rahel, not because of that, because we go outside to smoke weed, we go outside to, mess around and so on and so forth, okay. Eventually what happens is the police come after I'm gone, because this was a time when a gentleman named Deshaun Campbell, who I was told wasn't from Seven Trees, but was from 4-8 Mob, a Crip gang that probably backed up Seven Trees. I don't know all these guys. I wasn't that, social in San Jose. No one knows all these guys. The Crips in San Jose don't know all each other. They don't all know each other, and they don't all get along at that time. And there's Asian Crips too, and so on and so forth. There's like a Cambodian or something. There's Vietnamese. There's Asian boy Crips and stuff like this, right? So anyway, and there's Samoans, right? C Street and SOS and whoever else. So anyway, I'm in the car, believe it or not. This, all this stuff is true. I have no reason to lie. There's things in this story that pisses me off, that some people might argue makes me look bad because they're fucking retarded. The government does hack people's brains, and fucking even if they didn't, you're a dumbass if you hold anything against me here. And you're a dumbass if you think that a chick's better off dating Lex Luthor than dating Jesus because things might happen to her. Okay, in this situation, shit, if you think that if somebody grabbed my chick's ass in public, I would fucking stab him to death on the spot, no questions asked. You see what I'm saying? None of those things happened, around me, right? I would fucking kill him. And that dude, one of the dudes who, the guy whose name sounds like demon or a demon, a word for demon, okay? Or a word for one of the demons, like Malboja or this, and this. Okay. He was afraid that I was going to fight him to the death over that shit, okay? Because I'm naturally a very deadly person. Nobody I've ever even heard of comes anywhere near close to me. Of all the people who would walk up and shoot a motherfucker over a serious issue, I'm the most deadly and pissed off of them. So the thought that people think that, I never went out like a punk in my fucking life. It was always the government interfering. It's always me manning up. I've never done anything to be ashamed of in my whole life. Period. With everything considered, period. Anyway, so they come in there deep looking for Deshaun Campbell because they know I'm there and they know that there's bloods there. Okay? And they know black people are getting together. And I don't know Deshaun Campbell. I don't know everyone from Seven Trees, and everyone from Seven Trees probably doesn't know me or of me. I don't know, but I don't know them or of them. Okay, I know some of them. I nowhere near know all of them. Okay, now, nor do I know how many people are in their gang or what crimes they've done. Don't know. Now, I know a little bit about it, nothing that police would really want to know or something. So anyway, they go in there and they say something like, this is an Operation Blackout or this is a blackout, where they say that they can bend the rules because a cop has been killed. Okay, that's what they said according to the witnesses who were there who told me. Okay, and they said they came in there fucking pissed. Okay, they came in there not playing. This was not fucking the cop from The Simpsons here. These were serious police officers who were the type to kill black people for fucking less, came in there pissed off, according to the explanation I was given. Okay? And of course, I'm not bigging up the police or something, just telling the story. And so that had occurred when I was in the car outside. Now, if I was there, would I argue with them or something? No. What the fuck? I'm not fucking retarded, okay? They took a loss. I wasn't fucking cheering them. I wasn't like celebrating when it happened. I knew it was bad news when it happened. I knew that meant that every time I got pulled over, as somebody who was a commonly known Crip gang member, that fucking my life was gonna be a living fucking hell, so to speak. Once that happens, and that's the only type of motherfucker that killed a cop in the city, in one of the most populated cities in the country, with all kinds of gangs, it's black Crip gang, okay, that it makes all of our lives hell. Every Crip I met wasn't celebrating that. They were like, man, this fucking sucks, because they're gonna take that out on us now. And so there was a lot of anger toward that guy to some degree, and toward whoever he's affiliating with, because when he killed Officer Fontana over there in a white neighborhood in in San Jose on the southern part, not far from my apartments, in fact, because, Almaden Expressway leads up to Oak Ridge Mall, give or take. You turn on Blossom Hill or whatever, it leads up to. So he killed him in the Almaden area, and I was by the mall. Incidentally, this fucking idiot who lit these Jews on fire in fucking, where the fuck was that? It was like Colorado. Okay, there's the Pearl. I lived on Pearl and fucking Chenoweth. Okay, it was Pearl Street was part of that, and it was by a mall. They brought up the mall, and there's other wordplay there that points to they're motherfuckers. Okay, look, I've proven my point a million times over. If you have any questions, put in the fucking comments. And I say that to any bitch ass motherfucker. If you're not a bitch, I apologize you had to hear me say it that way, but you can imagine it pisses me off that some sniveling worm would run their dick suck when I'm telling the truth, and this has to be said, and this is a part of the human story, and this is fucking important. Okay. And I would say it in a lot more anger, but I'm fumed right now and so on and so forth. They're suppressing my anger. This is the type of thing that if I yelled my head off and the cops came to the parking lot right now and said, "Are you okay?" then I'd be right to yell my head off about it, because this is serious stuff, grown man stuff. Okay. So anyway, and I'm very fumed right now. I'm just going to wrap this up here. So, yeah. There came the time when I chased Jamal out the apartment, pulled out the knives on two different groups of motherfuckers. I put in work as a gangster, and I'm not a gangster. Do not join a gang. Rally to me. Do not be a stupid fuck. Listen to the martial art code. The link will be in the description. Don't try to act like a gangster and fucking kill somebody over some dumb shit trying to impress some dumb bitch or something. It's fucking retarded. I can tell you that with certainty. No one was a more serious gang member in history than I was when I thought that way. Okay? And I can tell you, as the most respectable person and person who joined a gang that ever fucking lived, okay, that look at the martial art code, don't follow the street code. Gang banging is bullshit, street code is bullshit. There's some truth to it, but don't follow it. Follow my martial art code. Be moral. Don't be hood, don't be gangster, be moral. Okay, so yeah, I said in the other video where I chased him out, he was in the Thunderbird. I said, I recognize him, boom, I'm on his bumper. I'm about to take off on the field. I got him, I'm honed in. His Somalian guys, they're watching, they're like helpless. I'm by myself, 10 toes, there's like 2 or 3 of them outside, and they're looking like, man, oh shit. It's like they decided they didn't want to help him for some reason. Maybe I had already pulled out the butcher knife on him. That's probably what happened. And so he's driving away, right? And he's got his little sister in the back right seat. So I didn't pound on the car. I didn't go too far with it. But he knew. And later on, I seen one of those dudes at the light rail station. He had bowed to me. I was with Rahel, right? It's just me and her. Okay, I'm somebody who had funk, who walked around with just my girlfriend or by myself, 10 toes down, taking the light rail, all that shit. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm not a punk. You know what I'm saying? People knew that I was banging. There's Bloods in San Jose. There's people who don't like Crips because they're trying to look good. There's Norteños that are gunning for Crips just because they're trying to express dominance. But most of those dudes did not have a problem with me, and I didn't have a problem with them. And I knew some of these dudes. I knew some of these dudes from Verde. I knew some of these dudes from various places. Okay? That's El Rancho Verde on the east side, San Jose off McKee. So anyway, there was that. I think that so at some point I keep giving her money because she comes back and she has a kid, and then she starts messing with a blood and has his kid. Now keep in mind, I wasn't dating her, and it was a good thing. She came back kind of fucked in the head. I still wanted to have sex with her, what have you. We messed around a little bit. Okay, not when she was with him, if I remember correctly. It's when he left or something, then, what we messed around or whatever. But, I didn't, it wasn't like, okay, you're a Crip, I'm a Blood, and we have a problem. We didn't have a problem. You know what I'm saying? To this day, I don't have a problem with that guy. He was a big old Blood, too. Big Blood, serious. He was trying to be my friend. I go as far as say, to some degree, even though we had our differences at points, to some degree, I consider him my friend. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad, too, when you look at this thing, like, who's your friend and who isn't? When you're dealing with the streets, thugs, you can't trust a thug. You can't trust a gangster almost every time. You see, if not every time. Don't trust him. But when motherfucker keeps it real with you, I hate to talk this way, but I'm like remembering this stuff, and it makes me feel more like I used to think, and feel. When someone keeps it real with you to some degree, and, they invite you to he invited me, he was a bouncer at the bar, invited me to come through, you know what I'm saying? Like, we on good terms and shit. You know what I'm saying? But I can't trust motherfuckers. They will stab you in the fucking back. If you're not careful, they'll rape your girlfriend, okay? You can't trust motherfuckers, but, a frat boy might rape your girlfriend too. Like, This is a dangerous rape cult piece of shit fucking world. You know what I'm saying? And what you should forgive and what you shouldn't is more complicated than you might think. Okay, if your brother sins against you, rebuke him. If he repents, if he truly repents from the bottom of his fucking heart and says, if you want, you can beat my ass or something, okay? And he comes into the divine order, then I'll forgive him. Am I gunning for everybody? Anybody? No. I'm Jesus. I have a job to do. And I'm right. If you think it's not painful to talk about this, you're a fucking dumbass. If you think I went out like a bitch, and you're a bigger dumbass. Well, you got a counter argument? Fucking say it. If you come up to me and say you went out like a bitch, I might beat your fucking ass regardless of everything. Because I didn't go out like a bitch, and the thought of that is fucking disturbing. And what the fuck's people? You send some gang stalking bitch to say some shit and some fucking, you know, they do some bitch. One time, oh man, I got stories for days here. They did bitch shit. Again, if I was going to kill every motherfucker who deserved to die for insulting Jesus, this whole world, and I could, the whole world would be dead kind of thing. You see what I'm saying? There's a time and place for judgment. And people will be judged. As you look at this situation, the thought that some fucking chicken head bitch would say some shit like, well, that's why no one wants to date. Bitch, shut the fuck up. You see what I'm saying? That's why no one wants to date me. I'm Jesus. Even if she got raped and crucified upside down, okay? A chick is fucking dumber than shit to fucking shun me. Grow the fuck up. You're ready to stand for something. You're supposed to be a woman. Be a fucking woman, not a scared little girl sucking off Lex Luthor or his fucking protege or something. Grow up. Got chicks joining the military and the police. Getting raped and shit in a predictable way. Getting assaulted by suspects. You don't see them say that bitch fucking shit then. But you get this white supremacist, Jewish token minority society. They say some frat fucking Masonic bitch shit. And you know they would say it. So I'm going to respond as if they said it because you know there's bitch motherfuckers who say some bitch shit trying to control a bitch. All right, we'll leave it there. There's probably other things I could say about it, but I covered a lot of this shit here. This shit is a fucking memory lane. Can be more painful than you think. You can go back to where you lived when you're younger, and you're hurt like getting older. You get older, right? You get older. I go to Santa Cruz. Some degree it's painful. Some degree it's relieving. It's memory lane. These motherfuckers targeted me my whole fucking life. And yes, I'm better off being me than anyone who's ever lived. So I'm a man. Had cops harassing me, gang members. Chicks shunning me, chicks snobbing me. In the spirit of the prostitute and the fucking beast. But I stood firm every step of the way for God Almighty, who's triumphed me over all the fucking scum. Think I should have fucking regrets? I'm Jesus. I'm blameless. I did the right fucking thing. What the fuck were you people doing? While I was persecuted by the scum of this land, you were in their fucking spirits. What the fuck could you say? So yeah, I'm gonna respond like they ran their dick suck. Because I know you people. You shrink to fit. Your judgment is laughable. With a rainforest in your fucking eyes. Nothing in my eyes whatsoever. The government was coordinating these motherfuckers against me. And I fucking won.